now listening to the Lineman Lounge.
Where sleeves are optional.
Aren't you tired of the same old podcast? Aren't you tired of the same old things? Don't you want to switch it up a little bit? Listen up, cause I'm about to blow your brain. Let your seat kick back, let your feet relax. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. In the car, at your crib, anywhere that you want. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. Got the NFL, got MLB, got NBA, and some UFC. Got college sports, we talking fantasy. Come on over, take a listen to the boy Mike C. Only on
The Lineman Lounge.
What's going on, everybody? Coming to you live from Hangar 6. It's the thickest podcast group in the game. This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike Carlisle. This is the man, Stanford Evovold, or Evo. Say what's up to the people.
How's it going, everybody? Friday the 13th. Hopefully nothing too spooky happens in here during the pod today. What you got to drink there, Mike?
I got myself a nice little Cutwater Vodka Mule.
Not a sponsor?
Not a sponsor. However, if Cutwater is listening, we would love to sponsor you. However, I'm not going to continue to give you any free advertisement. I'm just going to drink your delicious beverage.
Yeah. It's a transfusion for me. So those of you who don't know, it's Barstool and Barstool Sports and Owen's Mixer's signature golf drink. Haven't had one before today. Grape juice, ginger ale, and some vodka. So starting off the Friday afternoon right before a little bit of flag football practice for me again because we keep getting rained out. But let's get kicked off into some sports.
Yeah. So let's start with our own youth sports a little bit. You said you guys got practice again tonight. We've had a tough time here. So how's it going for you so far? The flag football kids starting to figure it out. I know you're going to be defensive coordinator, right?
Yeah. So I'll be doing defensive coordinator. It's 5 to 7 year olds, so it's rough. We've had one practice where it was condensed with only like 7 kids there. Yesterday we didn't even have the same 7 kids show up. It was mostly the same, but a couple new ones, couple who weren't there. I can't get names down for shit, so that's going to be awesome. I want to bring out like Post-it notes and just put it on their forehead and have it say like number 1. Just you're number 1 from now on. But only got 15 minutes or so in yesterday, just some super simple break the huddle type drills to show them where to line up. But there's a little bit less horseplay, so that was good. But yeah, I understand why parents can develop drinking problems. I have no kids, so This is fun for me to figure out. How about you and your tackle team you're coaching?
So things are good. I've shuffled some things around on that offensive line. Like, I'm the offensive line coach. We needed to make some adjustments after our joint practice with the other team in town. We didn't perform bad. There were ways that we could improve. I got my son going from center, now moving him out to left tackle.
Tackle.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were looking at guard possibly.
So he is a bigger kid, so I thought interior would be better. He looked damn good out at tackle the other day or yesterday, for that 30 minutes that we had. But we got some things we got to work through. So we just found out 9U coaches are not allowed on the field to call plays. So now we have got to come up with a system to get plays in from the sideline for 9-year-olds. And we found out 2 practices ago. And we have our first scrimmages tomorrow, Saturday, and we got 3 of them. So it's going to be a learning process. We're going to screw this up a little bit for this scrimmage. But hopefully we'll be able to work through all this stuff. Man, but we got some kids that can absolutely ball. We got some new kids, big kids, need a little bit of extra aggression in them, and then they'll be fine. But we look good. I'm feeling pretty confident.
That was always a thing for me growing up. So I was always one of the taller kids. I didn't get this thick until later on in life, so I was pretty athletic. Played running back, defensive end, linebacker. I was out there all the time, but I didn't understand my size. I think it was just I didn't fight growing up and stuff like that when I was younger, didn't like wrestle around as much. So putting on the pads and things like that, I was taking the hits more than giving the hits.
Right.
And once it was like 4th grade, I figured out, I can lay the lumber. And from there on, it was all gravy. It was good to go. So that's when it got fun.
And you see it because I've been coaching these same kids for going on the 4th year now. And you can kind of see when that switch flips and they start to understand, okay, so these are the things that I'm capable of doing. we just haven't got there yet because this is some of these kids' first year playing tackle football because we had kids that didn't play last year due to COVID. So they're a year behind some of their friends that they were playing with before. It's a little bit of a catch-up game, but we're going to get them there. I think the 9U Gray Colts are going to be just fine.
Yeah.
So.
And that's my hope is, I just got asked if I would help coach this year, but coaching has always been something that I've kind of wanted to do, and I've just never really stuck my neck out there to try to do it because I don't have kids, and I always thought that'd be kind of weird. But I think it's a good introduction for me to do this flag football, which I think could probably be the most difficult just because of the attention span of the kids.
Yeah.
But moving into an actual padded tackle football league at some point in time in the next several years, I think is something that I would really like to venture into 100%.
Drink, bitches.
Yeah. So moving on to another thing that's kind of local with us. We didn't talk last time about our golf tournament over the last weekend. We brought it up, but never actually fully discussed it. So we had a Veterans Memorial Golf Tournament here in town, hosted by the VFW and a company not to be named because they won't get any sort of sponsorship from us.
Absolutely not.
And it was a good time. At the end of the day, we knew that we were going to go up against some stiff competition. Mike and I were on separate teams.
Yeah, so that was a little rough for the podcast group. I was hoping to get some digital media, some social media content. However, us being on different teams because you're a turncoat and decided to leave the team, that was tough. But
I went and played with my new employer who asked me to come be the piss missile shooter on his team. So. I had to oblige.
It was probably a smart idea. However, having Amber, my wife, come in and be on our team was a really smart idea because playing from those ladies' tees.
Yeah, the ladies get to play a tee set up, so that was definitely helpful. We had a female on our team. Thanks, Kayla. Definitely helped out with some drives where we might hit decent, but we're off the fairway. She just got a new driver and was actually just really slinging them out there. So she was definitely competing with us and keeping us in the match. So that was a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, I believe my team got something like 10th place.
Yeah. We were not too far behind. We were one stroke worse than you guys, but I think there was a couple other teams that were at. You guys were at 67, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we shot a 68. So I think there's a couple other 67s towards the bottom. Who ended up winning? 53 ended up winning that shit?
I believe it was like a 53-1, a 54, and then there's 3 57s.
I mean, so 53 is absolutely ridiculous. That's what? 19 under?
Yeah, it's a pretty insane score to have. Regardless, it was a fun golf scramble. At the end of the day, we were competitive against each other. Our teams were. That's what we were going for. We knew that we were going to be facing some heavy hitters who go out there and do all these scramble tournaments every time. It wasn't really about winning. It was about getting some drinks in, playing around at golf, which is always fun. Oh, yeah. And we're going to go ahead and do that again this weekend. So maybe we can get some of that content that you want when we play around this weekend.
Yeah, so we should try to get some content. I know the last time we were out on that Saturday before the tournament, we got that TikTok knocked out with our resident Eagles correspondent.
Yeah, the old shithawks.
Yeah, and then also had Mike hopping in there as well. So it'd be a similar group. The Eagles correspondent, Goose, or more than likely Gray Eagle from the last episode, will not be there. So, but it'll be a good time. We're finally playing PDS. I hate the course on post. So I'm very excited to get back out to the country club.
And see, I'm the opposite way. The course that we're playing this weekend, I'll play it because it's golf, and I'll play golf anywhere, anytime, pretty much. But it is not my preferred place to play because just the mental aspect of it with the houses nearby. I think that's what still gets to me. And then it doesn't bother me anymore because I never hit these houses or anything. I never slice off the course and hit these houses. But from previous matches, I think the frustration just has boiled over for over a year since we picked the game back up.
See, and I don't have a problem with PDS because fuck those houses. If you live on a golf course, you know the risk. That is something that you signed up for, and I'm not sorry. So, yeah, I just let it rip.
I feel you. Yeah. I feel you.
But, all right, man, we ready to get into this thing? Let's kind of break down.
Yeah, we can move on to some more normal sports. Maybe a condensed podcast today. We're going to really go over some NFL stuff and maybe some baseball stuff at the end because not a whole lot has happened since we talked Tuesday. We had a lot of stuff on Tuesday. But some general NFL stuff. So happening in the week of NFL, we had a couple preseason games on Friday.
We did.
Patriots beat Washington football team 22-13, and Steelers beat the Eagles, 24-16. Now, for me, preseason scores, they don't matter.
They're worthless.
It is just about watching the players and their production individually and seeing who's getting better or who's looking like they might actually, take up one of those roster spots on a team, who is disappointing. And then, of course, the bad part is injuries, which I don't think we really have any injuries from those games to talk about.
I don't think so.
Any thoughts on the Patriots and Washington football team game?
So this game I actually got to watch a little bit of. We were waiting for the Lightning to go away at practice. So I was sitting in the truck, me and the kids, and tossed the game on my phone. And I was actually able to see my guy, Tom Brady Light, go out there and look pretty good. I mean, I think his stats, he was 13 and 19 on the day.
He had a real solid day. He was 13 for 19, 87 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 78.2 rating overall. He looked like that game manager.
Yeah, he looked like a game manager. He didn't get the ball down the field, but, I mean, this is his first experience playing a game in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Those are good numbers for a first time out. Like, that, that leads me to believe that he's going to get better. He did the things that we kind of expect. Take care of the ball, find open guys. Like, he was taking checkdowns and had no problem with that. Take what the defense is giving you.
That's what Belichick's offense typically has been. It has been a short to intermediate route system, almost West Coast. Take your checkdowns, but we're going to run the ball down your throat and have our defense be stout and just hold to a low-scoring game, or at least that's their intent. Which made Cam Newton a little bit of an interesting pickup for him. He by the way, he looked all right last night too. Very limited play. I think he only got a drive or two maybe, but really not a whole lot else to talk about through that game.
Well, I have a question for you though. So with Mac Jones looking pretty good, how long is it before that switch is made that Mac Jones is going to start?
Well, other than the obvious injury. To Cam Newton, which would mean Mac should go in. I'm heavily of the mindset that first-year quarterbacks should probably sit as long as possible.
Right.
Now, once you get into the garbage time part of the season where you are out of playoff contention or something like that, then I understand playing them more to see what you got in a guy. Or if you're having those garbage time games more often than put them in. I think the Patriots, they're not going to be like they have been for, other than last year, for the past several years where they're just dominant with Brady. I think they're still going to be a middle-of-the-pack type of team.
Do you have them in the playoffs?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think so. But I could see, with a longer season, I could see Mac Jones playing. I'd take the over-under of 5 games. I think that he could be seeing more time towards the end of the year, and I don't think Cam is going to hold up through the entire year. I just don't think he's that type of quarterback anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Cam. I loved Cam coming out. He's a former MVP, but he has put so much wear and tear on his body. Like, you can't have a quarterback who runs that many times. And it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Lamar runs a lot, but Lamar doesn't take the hits like Cam does. Cam was running between the tackles like running people over.
He's a thick boy.
He is thick.
He can take those hits usually, but they will wear on you after a while.
They absolutely do. There's a reason that running backs don't have long careers. Like after 30, running backs are basically replaceable. And when you have a quarterback who's running that much, you're looking at the same factors starting to come into play. He's had the injuries. The shoulder is not great anymore. And then Cam was never your guy who is going to run the West Coast offense. He's not your swings check down guy. He is a guy who likes to attack the middle of the field or deep down the edges. And so I thought it was weird that kind of this mix. Now they bring in 2 really good tight ends. One is hurt right now in Hunter Henry. So I thought maybe, that helps Cam. Mm-hmm. But I think this is really set up nicely for Mac Jones to have 2 really good security blankets in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, and be able to run the ball with a defense that they have absolutely revamped. I think that if there is a chance to make the playoffs, and Cam is kind of not old Cam. I think we may see that switch. Because either it's okay, Mac Jones is going to be thrust into a position where, hey, we really, really need you, a la Tom Brady in his young career. And if it doesn't work out, hey, listen, you got some exposure, you got some time, and then we're falling back. We're getting a little bit better draft capital. We're getting those things. I'm thinking probably about week 10. I think he maybe sees more than those 5 games, especially if he continues to improve. What I saw last night looks very good, was very safe with the ball, and that plays very well for Bill Belichick.
Yep.
Take care of the ball. So,
yeah, that's why I said I would take the over on 5. I think Cam will get his nicks and his dings. I think we'll see Mac Jones a little bit, maybe not full game time, but a game or two sometime through the beginning, middle of the year. And then by the end of the year, when they're closer to being out of contention, that's when I think you're going to see Mac Jones go in and kind of supplant Cam as the starter, just so that way they can see what they got and start to get him some real game time reps.
all right, yeah. What do we got next, man? What was the other game? We had
The
Pittsburgh.
Steelers and the Eagles.
So I did not get a chance to watch this game. I'm actually in a couple of groups on Twitter. In there with a bunch of fucking yinzers who like to talk about the Steelers. Dwayne Haskins doesn't look bad, apparently.
Well, he didn't look good in their first game.
No, he
the
did not
Hall
look
of Fame
good.
game. But he looked better in this one. So I watched some of the highlights. If you're just going based on the box score, he looked pretty good.
Right.
He was 16 for 22, 161 yards and a touchdown, 7.3 yard average.
Those are pretty decent numbers, man.
That's decent, but I don't trust Dwayne Haskins at all.
Yeah, is Dwayne still the guy that he was in Washington where he stares down receivers and doesn't study?
Yeah.
That's my word.
And you're going against the Philadelphia Eagles, their starting secondary is garbage.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked to Goose during that Facebook Live video that he really is like, we need a wide receiver, or if we don't get a wide receiver, one of these top wide receivers, we absolutely 100% need a corner. Did they even address that until like the 3rd round?
I'm not sure. I don't. They didn't do enough. Regardless, they didn't do enough. But that's the thing is, so their first team, not good.
Right.
So Haskins ain't going up against the first team the whole time. Mason Rudolph got the second started the game.
Right.
And he was 8 for 9 with 77 yards, which I think he's hit his ceiling. He's not a starter. He's
not a starter.
Backup.
And his ceiling is probably about just underneath his own helmet coming down
Like
from
the
Myles
dent
Garrett.
in his head?
Yeah.
Somewhere around that area?
Yeah, he is not good.
Yeah. And I'm not really a fan of him. I liked his upside coming out, but I didn't ever think that he would be anything more than a backup. And I think that he's a average to below average backup right now.
Yeah, he is not a top caliber backup by any means.
But, Haskins got the majority of the time yesterday. Josh Dobbs got a little bit of time.
That's a guy I really like. I like Josh Dobbs. I liked him coming out. I didn't
too.
think he would ever be a starter. I thought he is your fringe guy. He is a guy who's going to have a 10 to 15-year career as a backup, make good money, and be a guy you need in a pinch. I don't know. Dwayne Haskins, in my opinion, has more value than I just forgot old Denthead's name. Mason Rudolph. He has more value because you know exactly what Mason Rudolph is. You've seen it multiple times. He is not your guy. Maybe if you get Dwayne Haskins in your building, you continue to grow him. He grows into that heir apparent. He has more physical traits than Mason Rudolph does. And then Dobbs is your guy. He's your veteran guy who can kind of help make that merge.
That if it was me, Rudolph is still on his rookie deal. I'm pretty sure last year of his rookie deal. Mm-hmm. I'd almost cut him.
Yeah, I mean,
I would stick with Haskins because even though I don't think Haskins is very good, he's young enough that he's got the upside potential still to develop into something. So I'd rather have him around. And then same thing, Josh Dobbs. I liked him a lot. Again, never thought he was going to be a starter, but I thought old No Eyebrows could be a good, solid backup for a long time in the NFL and a pinch starter. So I would keep him around, get rid of Rudolph. That just clears up, one of your roster spots when you have to do your cut downs.
Right. Well, and here, so we're depending on Big Ben to stay healthy for 17 games now, not 16, 17. If he gets hurt, or if there is a time where, if there's any time where he has to miss, do you want Mason Rudolph coming in and leading a team that people in Pittsburgh think is a still playoff, potentially Super Bowl caliber team?
Based on how we've seen Mason Rudolph handle the team before when Big Ben's been out, no.
No, absolutely not, right? So, and you don't know what you have in Dwayne Haskins. You're seeing some good things, but we've also seen Dwayne Haskins be Dwayne Haskins. You got to keep a veteran guy on a team that you think has potential, unless they don't think that this team is what they are. They're adding pieces to this team to make it better, which breaks my heart. But you have to keep that veteran guy. You can't stick with two young guys, and one who we know cannot get the job done, and one who shot himself in the foot with his poor work ethic to start his career.
Yep. Completely agree. 100% agree.
So let's talk about that real quick.
All right.
So we have been told that there are certain phrases that we like to say on the show. We have our little crutch words. So if you want to make a drinking game out of it, like when Evo says 100%.
100%.
Or if you see me do this thing with my hand.
The claw.
Feel free to go ahead and get shithoused. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and continue to drink my delicious alcoholic beverage, which I'm not going to name again because they don't sponsor us.
Yeah, I put more vodka than I knew in this drink already, so I'm definitely feeling it.
There you go.
So I'm feeling great. So if you want to do a drinking game, pick up on our little crutches and go for it. 100%. I'm down for that. I'm down for
baby.
a lot of people to 100% get schwasty 100% of the time on Fridays. But going back to the Eagles-Steelers game, other side of the ball, the Eagles, Nick Sirianni's first game as a head coach and first loss. I'm expecting that he's going to have a majority of those throughout his career as the Eagles head coach, which I don't know which is going to be very long.
It's not. I mean, he's got it two years max at this point. Because unless they really believe in this guy, and they're going to bring in a quarterback, right? But the guy he thought he was going to get when he became the head coach got traded, and then is now subsequently hurt because Carson Wentz does Carson Wentz things.
Yeah. Now, Goose, our Shithawks correspondent, I think would love this. But if Howie Roseman goes this offseason, which he should have a long time ago, and I think he very well could this offseason, especially if it's a really bad offseason, I think you'll see Sirianni go with him. So this is the first time Sirianni's been a head coach. It's the first time that he's been in a lead spot of any coaching position.
Yeah, so he hasn't even been a coordinator, right? No.
No.
Yeah.
No. So this is not a Manchurian candidate, I don't think. But I mean, I don't know why they brought Sirianni in the first place.
This is reminiscent of old Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows the show, or if you guys are Browns fans like I am, you know how shitty that season was because we were supposed to be fantastic. And then we go 6-10 because Freddie Kitchens is an absolute buffoon calling draw plays on 4th and 16. It was, So,
to me, as a non-Eagles fan, but someone who knows the Eagles, you interview Deuce Staley.
Yeah, absolutely. Give him the interview.
Who is the Eagles guy? He interviewed for the job.
Yep.
The players wanted him.
He doesn't have enough time as a coach yet to get that spot.
How much does Sirianni have?
Agreed.
I'd rather bring in the guy that the players want, that they're going to fight for,
Yes.
that has upside because he knows the offense. He is loved in Philly. And if it's going to be the same situation where the team is bad after the season, you get rid of them, then it's all understandable still. But at least give your team a head coach that people can kind of get behind.
Well, maybe they understand that this team is going to be bad, and they don't want to put Deuce in that situation.
He seemed pretty upset about it. I think he's gone to another team now as a running back coach.
Well, I mean, but Sirianni is set up for failure. He has to know he's set up for failure, right?
I don't know.
maybe he has just immense confidence in his ability as a coach with a bottom half of the NFL roster. He has not done anything to make me think anything is going to go well, because right now, publicly, he's still saying that there's a quarterback competition, and Joe Flacco is one of the fucking competitors. Like, that's...
Well, I mean, Joe Flacco had himself a hell of a night last night.
I don't give a shit what Joe Flacco did last night. Joe Flacco, he is now a high caliber backup. He is a spot starter at best.
Yeah. I mean, Flacco went 10 for 17 and a touchdown, including a deep bomb to seal the game, I believe. But Jalen Hurts was 3 for 7. Now, I liked Hurts coming out. I liked his upside. But after seeing him last year, I think we know what we kind of have in him. I don't think he's going to progress that much. He reminds me of like a Tavares Jackson for the Vikings back in like 2008 timeframe, 2009. He's athletic. He can have a peppy arm sometimes, but he's not going to be the one out there winning you games. He's not a long-term solution by any means. Rest in peace, Tavares Jackson.
Well, yes, obviously, rest in peace, Tavares. But he has, to me, shades of Jake Locker. Do you remember Jake Locker?
Yep.
A guy who was incredibly athletic. Well, Jake Locker was the sneaky athletic guy because he was white.
Caucasian.
Yeah. But never threw for a high completion percentage. Was kind of... He just never had all of the pieces. He had a piece a game. One piece this game. And that's kind of where I see Jalen at. Now, maybe he can progress a little bit more. Obviously, we know this guy is mentally tough. Being benched at Alabama, not transferring, and then finishing out the year, then going to Oklahoma, performing very well, finishing second in the Heisman. He's very mentally strong, so the moment is not going to be too big, I don't think. It's just, can he put all the physical tools together at one time? I don't know.
Yeah, I like Jalen Hurts. I do. I don't think he's a starter in the league. I just don't. Yeah. I think that he could definitely be one of those kind of fun backups where you're going to bring him in every now and then. Like, he's not just going to go in for injury. No. He's going to go in for maybe a less athletic quarterback where you're going to run some sort of almost like a wildcat type play or something like that.
He is a Taysom Hill type guy.
Yeah.
Like, you have a couple packages for him, and it keeps the defense off balance. But he's not a guy who takes every snap, drops back in the pocket, and beats you. That's just not him.
Yeah.
So
that's where I'm at. But, Joe Flacco, he's probably going to end up being the starter before too long this year, honestly. I would ride with Jalen Hurts because he, like I said, I think he's just more interesting, more fun.
You know what you have in Joe Flacco.
And I think
you have to figure out what it is.
I think Sirianni doesn't know how to coach well and will end up going with what he knows, and that's steady Joe Flacco.
That's crazy to me.
And that's the Eagles.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I think that's
Howie Roseman has got to get fired for this. Like,
he should. But I don't have faith yet. I don't have faith in his ownership.
Yeah. What the hell is the ownership doing that they haven't made the decision to cut bait with Howie Roseman yet? How long? I mean, if you repeat the same thing and get the same fucking, like, action.
Definition of insanity.
Yeah. Come the fuck on, guys. Like,
yeah. I'm just glad that that's not the football team that I decided to follow. Fuck you, Goose.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad I'm not a fan.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit earlier. Jags and Steelers played and mentioned they are bringing in some pieces there to the Steelers.
Yep.
They had a linebacker, his name's escaping me, retired just before the start of training camp. And so they needed to bring in.
It wasn't Spillane, was it?
No.
Bobby's still there? Neck brace Bob?
I don't know if he's still there or not. Okay. I don't recall who it was. Not Harrison, Vince something?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Either way, they made a trade right around game time for old Joe Schobert.
Yeah.
Former Browns linebacker.
Pro Bowl Browns linebacker.
So Joe Schobert, I'm a big fan of when I didn't know that many players on the Browns because they weren't a very good team.
Yeah.
All right. But he became a darling for me in fantasy as an individual defensive player.
Yeah.
And
I love
when I saw the stats I was putting up, I was like, this guy is just solid as hell.
Tackling fuel.
100%, 100% solid, and he's someone that I look to draft every year because he's been consistent with that. He's putting up your 140 plus tackles a year, 2 interceptions usually. I think he had like 7 last year.
Interceptions?
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. He put up some pretty impressive stats, and he's just been for a linebacker very solid. Now more of a coverage backer, from what I understand.
So, not bad in coverage. Well, at least for us, was good. Would get you some picks. He is just a guy that gets beat by more athletic tight ends.
Okay.
He can stick with your Austin Hoopers who are slow, right? But if you get a guy who can run a little bit, Cho was going to have a little bit of a problem. Also, very high volume tackler. He is in on every play. However, one big knock, and I think one of the reasons he's not back in Cleveland, was he also had a lot of missed tackles.
Okay.
His nose is always around the ball. His ability to finish, left something to be desired.
Okay, so I just pulled up the stat that I was trying to remember here. Again, sorry, I'm drinking. So he's one of only 14 players to have at least 2 interceptions, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles in consecutive seasons dating back to 1994, where forced fumble data was beginning to be accurately kept. That list includes Hall of Famers Brian Dawkins, Ray Lewis, Charles Woodson, and Julius Peppers.
Those are impressive names to be on a list with.
Yeah. So he's been extremely productive, at least on the stat sheet. Like I said, he was someone that I kind of got attached to because he helped my fantasy team out. And now he's been traded from the Jaguars to the Steelers to fill out their linebacker room. And it's undisclosed right now.
Late round pick, right?
It didn't say on here, just said that the details of the trade are still unknown.
I would imagine that it is a late round pick because that contract that he got was so big.
Yeah. 5-year, $53 million with $21 million in guarantees.
That's a big contract for an off-ball linebacker. Mm-hmm. That's not Darius Leonard money, but that is a lot of money for a guy who misses a lot of tackles, even though he made a Pro Bowl.
Mm-hmm. And it was over the past 2 seasons that he's had 7 interceptions and 4.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. So still very productive.
Good player. Good player.
Yeah.
I liked Show. I wanted Show to come back. I didn't want to pay him over $10 million a year. No. So I was okay when he walked because I saw what his contract was. I had no ill will towards Show. Go get your money, secure your bag. But I would have liked to have brought him back. He goes down to Jacksonville. Things don't work out.
And now he's on one of your favorite teams.
And now he's on the fucking Steelers. I'm so tired of having good Browns players go be successful elsewhere, and especially when they're successful in our fucking division. Like, I have a Joe Hayden jersey hanging up in my closet. The year I got that Joe Hayden jersey, we fucking released him, and he immediately goes signs with the Steelers. I love Joe Hayden. Yeah. I still root for Joe. When Joe has a good game, I'm all about it. I love Joe Hayden. But he plays for the fucking Steelers. Yeah. So fuck the Steelers. That's all I can say. Good for Schobert getting out of Jacksonville, because that is going to. I do not have a ton of faith in Urban. I love Urban as a college coach. I don't think his rah-rah shit's going to play in the NFL. I don't trust Trevor Lawrence this rookie year because I don't think he has a ton of weapons.
He's got Tebow.
Tebow is still on the team.
I think he's going to make the roster.
There's no fucking way. I mean, we're going to find out on Saturday. We're going to see what Tebow looks like at tight end. I can't wait until Trevor Lawrence hits him in the fucking side of the head.
I was initially saying, no way this guy makes it. This is all just a show. I think he's going to make the roster now.
What makes you say that?
Apparently, he's actually balled out in practice. He hasn't dropped a single pass. He's kind of been showing up over the other tight ends. I can't remember who their starter is, but I believe their main guy is injured. So he's been taking a lot of reps with 1s and 2s and hasn't looked bad. Now, this was all
I swear to God, if Trevor Lawrence throws a touchdown pass to Tim fucking Tebow, I'm just not going to be able to watch sports for a whole fucking week.
No ESPN. You're just
No.
gonna have to tune
It's
into
not
the
even.
Lineman
It's not even
Lounge.
going to be just ESPN because ESPN obviously is going to be the biggest coverage of this.
Oh yeah.
Fucking Bleacher Report. I can't wait to read the article that comes out of Barstool when this happens.
You know what I have to say is that if Tim Tebow sticks on the team and catches a touchdown pass, everyone can turn off their TV, their sports media, other than the Lineman Lounge. We won't bring it up.
No, I promise to Christ that we will not talk about that if it happens because you can get that coverage fucking everywhere else.
And we don't want just that bullshit on the podcast
No.
when you can go get the same story from every single other person somewhere else. Another thing coming out of the Steelers camp that I saw reported a little bit earlier in the week, TJ Watt, one of the best defensive ends in the league or best edge guys, he is in contract negotiations. He's been at every practice, but he's only participated in individual drills for the most part. Mike Tomlin spoke on how he's not really been practicing with the team and going through full-on scrimmages or anything like that. Don't believe that he played in the preseason games. Any thoughts on players sitting out while they're working on that contract negotiation? It doesn't really sound like it's a hostile thing at this point.
Right. So, TJ, go get your bag. I got no problem with you wanting more money. Anybody, you guys have heard me say it before, you're worth whatever somebody is willing to pay you. So if you can get more money, get more money. Does it help the Browns that you're sitting out of camp, not getting the reps? 100%. Were you going to get that many to begin with? Probably not, because you're already a stud. I am not going to talk shit on TJ Watt. He is number 2, 3 edge rusher in the league, probably. I got Myles Garrett at 1, maybe TJ at 2. Man, that maybe TJ at 2. I don't know if I could name a guy other than TJ Watt.
Danielle Hunter's my guy. He's my number one.
Yeah, Danielle Hunter
He's
is
my
your
number
guy.
One. But that is what it is. So you talked about him sitting out of practice and not getting those reps, and is that going to hurt or help him? That kind of brings us to another thing here. So the Rams, for the 4th year of preseason under McVay, he is not starting any or not playing any of his starters in any of the preseason games. Smart?
So
Bad idea?
Team dependent.
How so?
For TJ, he doesn't need reps, right? So he's already a stud. For a team like the Rams, probably don't need a ton of reps with your ones because damn near everybody is returning. You don't have a ton of new pieces, with the exception of the most important piece in this scenario,
Matt Stafford.
and Matt Stafford. I think that
That's
they
what I was
should
gonna bring up.
absolutely probably get a series. I mean, give them one series a game. Get a little bit of rhythm on against another team. I don't know if they're doing any joint practices.
I'm not sure, but that's what I was going to bring up is that you've got the most important person on the field, the game general, your quarterback, Matt Stafford, new, and you're not going to give him any play time. And I've gone back and forth in this actually. So I do like the idea of not having players out there, subjecting them to any extra wear and tear, especially in a season that is now longer than it has been any previous season. And chances of Stafford going to the playoffs with the Rams is higher than it was for him to go to the playoffs with the Lions.
Correct.
So his year could be the longest of his career. So it's good to get him the rest. He's no spring chicken. But I think unless they're actually doing some good physical contact work in their camp, that you do lose a little bit of that. You know, guys will come out, and it's not that they're rusty, but until you get that first hit,
Right.
and you take those first reps and you're actually making that contact, I think you can't fully get into game mode. That's why you see some teams struggle even after they've been playing throughout the year. It can take them a series to get into a game. Not, that's just middle of the season, first series of a game, they might be a little bit lackadaisical or whatever. You just need to get that first pop, and then you're good to go. So it's interesting. I would have to do some research to see what their injury history has looked like underneath McVay to see if there's actually been a noticeable benefit, at least maybe in the first half of the season for their team compared to other teams.
Yeah,
I really don't know. But, for me, Dalvin Cook is probably isn't going to be playing in this preseason game tomorrow. I don't think he's going to get any preseason game this.
Well, Baker's
work.
not playing on Saturday.
I'm completely okay with it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that guy to go down to an ACL or something like that
Right.
in a scrimmage.
But when you have a new so there is something to be said about saving your body, saving a quarterback's arm. We have guys that will be in camp very late, or they'll hold out of camp as a quarterback because they don't want to be in camp throwing because their arm is starting to die at the end of the year. Now you have a 17th game. You have to conserve your arm. I don't care if you're a pitcher in Major League Baseball. I don't care if you're a quarterback. If you're throwing a ton, your arm is going to wear down at a certain point. You've got to find a way to conserve it when and where you can. So I understand not having your quarterback out there, but this is a brand new quarterback on a team with guys that they have no live reps against another team. Because there is a drastic difference about what happens when you're going against your team versus what happens when you're going against another team.
That is true.
Those reps are valuable.
So how many series would you say is adequate for him to get per game in the preseason? Stafford
in this first game, I'd give him 1 series. Game 2, I would give him 2 series. Game 3, he doesn't play because we have to make sure he is healthy going into week 1.
Does 1 series or 3 series in total, does that make that big of a difference, do you think?
I think it is.
Because a series could be 3 plays.
It could be 3 and out, right?
Yeah.
I think that there is some value there. I don't know how these guys are running it in camp. Is McVay calling in plays from the sideline into the headset with a ton of crowd noise? Because it's not just about the play. It's about the rhythm of what happens inside the huddle, getting out of the huddle, and getting people set up as well. That has just as much importance as the execution of the play itself. The NFL is the world's greatest place for football. Week 1 and 2 are tough to watch because there is some bad fucking football that gets put on tape. And there's also some really bad officiating that gets put on tape because these guys have been out of it for a while. Those reps are important to get that rhythm, to understand how the flow of the game is going to go.
Yeah, and I don't really have an answer. That's I was just trying to gauge your perspective, but I don't know. I could sit here and make arguments for both sides. If you're running an upscale type of practice where you are actually having players get some licks here and there, and you're making it as realistic as possible to game time situation, maybe you don't play Stafford and just conserve him. Maybe you don't play the starters. I think it'll just be something that's kind of interesting to watch, see how the Rams do throughout the beginning of the season. I know that I'm now conscious of it, and I'm going to pay attention to how they perform in the beginning of the season more, just to see if they do have less injuries, if they are more rusty or not. We'll see. It's just something that I think is interesting. I don't know that I've heard of another team resting all their starters. You always hear about the quarterback or running back or wide receiver, but all the starters, it's a little bit different. Maybe it's just part of McVay trying to be the young gun and do things different. Who knows?
Yeah, man. We'll see.
Quick update on the Colts injuries. So we talked about Carson Wentz, Quentin Nelson, both with foot issues, both requiring surgery. Yep. Initially, they said Wentz's injury could be 5 to 12 weeks, that they aren't going to rush him back, and they're still sticking with not rushing him back. But the reports coming out now are that both Nelson and Wentz could potentially be ready by week 1. And then Frank Reich did say, yeah, but we're not going to rush Wentz back.
Yeah.
Irsay said that as well, is that they're not wanting to rush Wentz back. I think it's asking a lot for 5 weeks. So I listened to another pod where they were talking specifically about these foot injuries.
Yep.
The short term is 5 weeks, but that you're
not healthy at that 5 weeks.
They're saying that he won't be healthy this season.
Oh, geez, I didn't know that.
Because there's so many little bones in the foot that are have muscles tightly wound around them and everything.
Yep.
The surgery is more invasive than you would think, and you're on your feet all the time. he would have to be off of that foot constantly to have it be healing up as much as it needs to be, where it's not going to be some sort of an issue.
I mean, quarterbacks don't need their feet, right?
Not all of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ben doesn't.
you can definitely put your feet in cement and be okay sometimes. Tom Brady had an 8-second 40 or something like that. But I think regardless of what happens, if he comes back week 1, if he comes back in week 10 or 12 or whatever it ends up being, he's not going to be 100%.
Yeah.
And that's just going to hurt the Colts. It's going to hurt the chances of that draft pick going to the Shithawks.
Well, it's going to help the Colts because they're not going to have to lose a first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Which they're going to need to use probably on a quarterback in the first round because Carson Wentz ain't the guy.
Yeah, and nor is Jacob Eason, but it sounds like it's Ellinger.
Sam Ellinger. Apparently
from Texas, rookie?
Rookie out of Texas. I did not. He reminds me of Colt McCoy. Mm-hmm. He is not a starter in the league. He is going to be a very productive backup. Apparently, he looks very good, though. He has had command of the huddle. The guys are actually kind of rallying around Sam from the reports that I've read. I'm interested to see what happens there.
Yeah, so they might not need to make a trade for a big dick Nick Foles or something like that, or a Gardner, like I've been saying.
So I'm gonna come back to Minshew later, but
so if is it Ellinger?
Ellinger.
Yeah. If he actually starts playing well and balls out, I don't think they bring Wentz back anytime soon before they need him. They'll just let him sit those 12
I'm not
games
sure
or something
they
like
bring
that.
him back, period.
Yeah, it could.
Carson may be on his last leg. I could see this being a...
There's a pun in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see this being the start of his announcement to beginning to retire. He has been constantly beat up. Like, we saw this happen with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was a baller. Andrew Luck probably could have won Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But his body was destroyed because he was not protected. Or he put himself in situations where he should not have put himself.
That's one of the saddest situations of wasted talent for me, really. Andrew Luck, I loved Andrew Luck.
Me too. His fucking neck beard was legendary.
Yeah. And he was damn good.
He
Damn good
was
football
a
player
baller.
and never got a chance to realize his full potential, execute all of his talent on the field and develop because he was just always getting those injuries. So, but hell of a smart guy too.
Stanford.
From Stanford.
Yeah.
But yeah, not to go on a tangent about old quarterbacks for the Colts, but just wanted to give you all an update. It sounds like those guys, Nelson and Wentz, potentially could be back sooner than later. If one of the two is going to come back sooner, it's going to be Nelson because that guy is a bad motherfucker. And I think that
so nasty.
You know what, linemen, they are always injured, whether or not it's keeping them off the field or not.
Yeah.
That's
you get guys that play with torn MCLs, ACLs. Like, you get guys who play with injury. He's going to be fine. He's going to come back. He's probably not going to come back at 5. Give him a little extra time, especially if you don't have a good starting quarterback. Don't rush back your best offensive lineman to put him in a situation where he is potentially beat up more.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to be okay.
Yeah. So, Gardner Minshew, you wanted to talk about
Yeah,
him?
so I am a big fan and hater of Colin Cowherd. I like the way Colin talks. I appreciate his brashness, but I also hate him because he always is dogging on my Browns and specifically Baker Mayfield. So he had a little segment on his show where he said that Gardner Minshew and Baker Mayfield are essentially the same guy. Their stats are almost identical when you put them up on display. And he's right. They are very close on their per game averages. Okay. They completed about 65%, 260 yards a game. Played in the same system in college. Had similar numbers in college. But Gardner's not going to get the opportunity that Baker's going to get because Baker's drafted 1. Gardner Minshew drafted 160 something. I think 168. Okay. And if any team is looking for a quarterback, I don't know why they're not looking at Gardner Minshew. This guy, I can name 7 to 8 teams that Gardner Minshew could start for right now over who they have in camp. I like Gardner Minshew. I like his moxie, fucking mullet and jorts. Sign me up because that's a guy I can get behind.
Yeah. 100%.
100%. Like but he's not going to have an opportunity down there in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Lawrence is the guy. He's been the guy since they figured out who was getting the number 1 pick. So if Sam Ehlinger or Jacob Eason don't work out, don't go get Nick Foles. I mean, Big Pole Foles has come up clutch in some very critical times. When he has been the starter from the beginning of the season, he has not really ever performed well.
Correct.
So he is a guy that comes in. He's your closer.
Look, even
Somebody
on
go
their,
get
even on their
Minshew.
Super Bowl run, Foles in his first game in, he kind of looked like shit. They barely won. Yeah. Now, he beat my Vikings the next game, and we are coming off that hangover of the Minnesota Miracle, and I think that played a huge part in it because he didn't particularly look good against us. We just looked like we were not there to play. I'm not a Nick Foles fan. I think he is that closer, but I don't think he's talented enough to lead a team. If you can't go on the Bears and become their starter with the lack of talent on that team, this is previous years. I think Justin Fields is going to be phenomenal for him. So no way that he's,
he has the potential to be the best quarterback of this class.
Potentially, yeah.
Almost certainly the second best quarterback in this class.
But yeah, Gardner. Look, I love Gardner. I feel the same way. There's a lot of teams out there that would highly benefit from having
Broncos,
him.
right off the rip, give me
That's a good one.
fucking Gardner over either one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
I would take him over Sam Darnold for sure. Let's see. Who else we got? Give me Indianapolis right now. For sure. I'm taking Gardner Minshew over the 2 young guys or a banged up Carson Wentz. There's a ton of opportunity. Like,
I'd feel better. You don't want to hear this, but I'd feel better with him being in there as the backup and potential heir apparent to Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that because
he's probably going to get hurt at some point in time, and he doesn't have many more miles on him. He's immediately better than all the other quarterbacks on that roster. Yeah, that's something you don't want to hear.
Literally just ship him over to Miami. I'd take him over Tua.
I don't know if I'd take him over Tua.
I would. I mean, I'm not a Tua guy.
I know you're not a Tua fan. I still want to see what Tua can do with another year or two. But it would at least be good competition there.
Right.
Because let's be real, he's not going to be competition in Jacksonville.
No, I mean, he might even end up playing better, but it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Trevor's going to start.
Yeah, Urban's going to stick with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, 100%. There we go.
Yeah, 100%. I hadn't heard of Coward's take on that, so that's pretty interesting. I pulled up an article. I'm going to look into that a little bit later.
All right. Well, hey, so real quick, let's go ahead and talk to the people. So, guys, we appreciate everything that you do, all your support. If you want to interact with the show, go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can email into the show at
LymanLounge@gmail.com.
LymanLounge@gmail.com. Go on YouTube, like, subscribe, rate the podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Thank you guys very much for everything you do. I think we're going to need to take a little bit of a break because camera battery life is not fantastic, but we're going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to charge the battery. Then we're going to come back, get into the rest of the show, and we'll finish it out.
Yeah, let's re-up on some drinks.
Absolutely. We'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, we are back. Had to charge that battery for a little bit. Re-upped on that alcoholic beverage. Got a nice lip in the mouth. So, all ready to get this thing back rolling. We left off with Gardner Minshew. we're going to pick up somewhere else and with a different position. So, Evo, what do we got?
Yeah, so right after we got done filming on Tuesday, saw some news kind of breaking about Michael Thomas, wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints. For those that don't know, Michael Thomas, he has put out some tweets and stuff like that that have shown maybe some angst against the team. He is had a late surgery on his ankle in the summer, so he's going to be missing time for sure in the beginning of this football season. And the reports that were coming out later on Tuesday was basically that he is working his way towards demanding a trade, which is, he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. Still to be
Stud.
seen what's going to happen with Jameis or Taysom or whoever behind the helm there in New Orleans and how that's going to affect him. But we talked about this a little bit before the pod. You think that he's posturing right now with the surgery and everything to find his way out of New Orleans?
So I do, but so there have been some additional reports that came out. I don't know if you got it pulled up. There was a couple tweets came out saying, they're starting to work towards some sort of resolution, right? Well, this all started because the team didn't want Mike to have surgery during the season last year. He didn't want to have surgery, kind of push it off because he knew it was Drew's last chance at a Super Bowl. He wanted to be a part of that. He wanted to be there for his guy, Drew Brees. Now, if you are committed to the team, immediately following the season, you get the surgery. That way you're back ready for training camp. At the latest, you're ready week 1, right? Even if you miss training camp. He doesn't do that. Now, anytime that we see a player get surgery late, it's either they tried to rehab and it went bad, or there is definitely a motive behind this. Now, is his motive to get out of there because he doesn't like it in New Orleans? Or is he worried about what's going to happen with that team now that Drew's gone? He was a huge Drew Brees guy. Loved him. Does he have the same faith in Jameis? Everybody knows how I feel about Jameis. He is, maybe now that he can see, he'll be better. I don't know why you don't get LASIK if you know you can't fucking see. That speaks to the asinineness of Jameis Winston. That's one of the reasons that if he bothers me so much. If you know that's an issue, you're a fucking professional. You're supposed to be the CEO of an organization as the quarterback. You get that shit taken care of immediately. That's one of my issues with Jameis. I don't know that Mike Thomas trusts Jameis. I don't know that most people trust Jameis. Because Jameis is going to start. It's not Taysom.
Yeah, there's one quarterback out of the two of those names, and it's Jameis Winston, so he's going to end up being the starter. Yeah, I don't know. So I think that it's probably Mike Thomas hedging his bets that they are not going to be the same team because Drew Brees is not there. Mm-hmm. He doesn't trust Jameis, like you were saying. He signed in 2019 his new contract, which was, let's see here, 5-year, $96 million deal. So he was getting a little over $19 million a year. Mm-hmm. Not bad money.
Very good money
for when he signed that in 2019, and then he restructured it actually last year, saved the team a little over $8 million in cap.
He needed to
and
because
it converted money towards his signing bonus.
Yeah, they needed to save cap because they were bringing Drew back. They have had massive cap issues. He was willing to do that to play with Drew Brees.
Mm-hmm. So the contract isn't that old. He's getting paid well. Of course, he could be looking for more, and possibly deservedly so, because he is one of the better wide receivers.
I don't think it's a contract issue.
Exactly.
I think it's an issue with the organization. Him and Sean Payton don't necessarily get along, from all the reports that I've read. Sean Payton, I've never seen be very demonstrative. He was very much demonstrative and out in the open with this whole situation. He was fucking pissed. Just flat out. Was not happy. And Michael Thomas doesn't give a fuck because I don't know that him and Sean are on the same page. I think there is a little bit of friction in that relationship.
Yep. And Thomas he had put out the tweet, I believe it was on August 9th. They tried to damage your reputation. You saved theirs by not telling your side of the story, which is obviously a jab. It's you're not going to put that out unless you're probably talking about the team.
He's going at the organization.
yeah.
I think he has a problem with the Saints organization. It's not his money. He is a guy, when this contract is up, if he is healthy, he is going to get paid again because he is an absolute stud.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thought that Odell was the king of the slant. There's a new king of the slant, and it's Michael Thomas. He is a baller. Like, he is not a guy who's going to beat you over the top. He is just so precise. I love Michael Thomas. He's an Ohio State guy. I rock with Michael Thomas. He's a stud. He absolutely is.
He's a little bit emotional and has these little outbursts, which
he's a
always
wide
bothers
receiver.
me. He is a diva wide receiver. That is true for the position group. So the interesting thing is that it started just immediately as, oh, they're going to trade him. They're going to trade him. They're going to trade him. All right. We've seen with Brandon Cooks when they've had disputes, Jimmy Graham when they had disputes, and those guys weren't even as good as Michael Thomas, and they were smaller disputes, and they just immediately traded those guys. I don't think the trade is going to happen this year. So,
well, the trade can't happen this year based on his contract.
Unless they want to take a big hit. So, pull this up here. After that restructure, which converted a whole bunch of that money to a signing bonus, the way that it's still structured up is that it would cost the team an additional $22.5 million this year on top of his base salary if they were to trade him or cut him. And if it's past June 1st of next year, 2022, then they would actually save $15.7 million. So you can expect that Michael Thomas, he's not going to play for the beginning of this year. If the Saints have success with a young wide receiver group or finding some different shade to their offense without him out there, that they might say, okay, yeah, he's disgruntled. He didn't play for us for half this year. It's time for a rebuild of this offense, and we're going to get what we can for him, which he's easily worth a first-round pick in my mind.
Yeah.
They can get rid of him next offseason, so he could be one of the big moves next offseason. Team trading for him.
Yeah, so if he gets traded, he's going to be a post June 1.
Yeah,
guy.
It'll be designated post June 1st.
Yeah, so if with his salary this year and the $22 million, we're looking at almost or over $40 million. There's no fucking way you cannot trade that contract.
No,
they are.
It's not like
already.
the NBA where you can like do money deals and stuff like that or whatever. Like it just, which. I think it'd be interesting for
now
the
we've
NFL,
talked about that the cap is bullshit. It's non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
You can fucking flex it, but there are certain things that you cannot work around. This is one of
the
those
cap
things.
this year is what, 180 something million dollars.
185.
Yeah, you can't be having that much of your cap just disappear.
No, you absolutely, and they're already cap strapped.
Yeah.
There's a reason that he got restructured to begin with. He's gonna be there now. Do he and Sean Payton work out their issues? I don't know. Sean is a very by the book guy. He gets the best out of his players, but Sean does things Sean's way, and people are either on board or they're not on board, like you talked about with a Jimmy Graham, a Brandon Cooks, those kind of guys. They don't want to go necessarily in line. They get traded. The only reason Mike's not traded is because he can't be, because of the contract situation. Can that relationship be repaired? Maybe. There were those tweets saying, they're trying to work out something. But if I'm Michael Thomas, I'm in no rush. I don't trust the Saints. I don't trust Jameis. Alvin Kamara is a fantastic back. But this is a guy who, you guys have all heard me talk about this before. He does it all. He catches, he runs, but he's never gone over 1,000 yards rushing. He's never gone over 1,000 yards receiving. Can Alvin Kamara be the entire offense? I don't know.
No.
Maybe.
No, I don't think so. It's extremely rare that a running back is your offense. Adrian Peterson coming to mind for me, just being a Vikings fan.
CMC.
He was our whole offense. McCaffrey, he has been their whole offense. But if you look at the Panthers' offense, it wasn't anything special.
No.
You are extremely limited when your game revolves around a running back. It's just how it is. I kind of see this situation going just like, how the Packers currently have their drama going on. I think they could be in the same position down in the Bayou next year. Quarterback, gone. Already gone this year.
Yeah.
So they're going to basically have a quarterback vacancy probably next year as well.
I mean, unless Jameis balls out.
Right. But I don't put a whole, I'm not betting money on that. Right.
I would bet money the opposite direction, that Jameis reverts to old Jameis and throws another 20 picks.
Mm-hmm. Michael Thomas very well could be looking to leave. And then Alvin Kamara, I don't see him wanting to stick around in that shit show either. So
No, and
they're going to be having their main offensive talent looking to exit the system.
And I don't know what their draft capital looks like, but they're going to be good enough to not get a top quarterback. They might not make the playoffs, though. They're going to be in that middle group, that 15 to 20 area. Do they have the draft capital to move up to go get a guy? Because Taysom is not a quarterback. Taysom has this wild fucking contract. 5 years, fuck tons of money. I don't even remember what the numbers are. But every year is voidable, which means it's not a contract.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone at any time. Jameis, I think, is 1 year on his deal. And then let's see what happens. And I'm not putting any money on Jameis to go out and ball out. Even in a Sean Payton offense, which is conducive to quarterbacks. This is a tough situation for the Saints. That is an organization that was much maligned for a very long time until Drew Brees got there. Had a ton of success. They win a Super Bowl. And to go from a Hall of Fame quarterback to Jameis. To go from a Hall of Fame quarterback to anybody next is very hard to do. There are very few organizations that continue to roll out guys. The only team that I can think of is the Packers that you hate, but they go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Right?
Yep.
Now, maybe Jordan Love's the next guy. I don't see it.
Nope.
But
100% no.
Yeah, you don't roll from one Hall of Famer to another Hall of Famer. Quarterback is probably the hardest position to evaluate coming out because college is changing. This whole spread air raid offense, it doesn't always play. Like there's very few guys that go from that offense in college and translate into the NFL.
Yeah, looking at the NFC South, I don't think the Falcons are getting in the playoffs. I don't think the Panthers are getting in the playoffs. The Bucks definitely are.
Yeah.
And the Saints are the next closest team. And like you said, I don't know that they're going to earn a wild card. I don't know. If they don't make the playoffs this year, I see a big rebuild happening down in the bayou.
Sean Payton stays, but they revamp who is on that offensive side of the ball. Mike Thomas, depending on what happens this year, may be gone. Jameis, I think, is probably gone. So they're looking for a quarterback. They're looking for a number one wide receiver. Your offense is now predicated on Alvin Kamara and whoever his backup is. That doesn't play down in that division, especially if Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are still Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Those are 2 losses, guaranteed. Now, they maybe go 4-0 against the Panthers and the Falcons, but they don't have an easy schedule. They are they're not bottom half. They're right in the middle on their strength of schedule. And I don't think that they can navigate it with what they have. I am never going to bet against Sean Payton. He is a fucking genius. But he's in a tough spot, and they're going to have to revamp what they're doing on that side of the ball. That defense can be suspect at times. They have some fantastic players. Huge Marshawn Lattimore guy, another Ohio State guy. Sometimes plays like the best cornerback in the league. Sometimes gets torched. They're just not consistent.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to our last little topic of the NFL before we move on to baseball. Something that I wanted to ask your opinion on. So this is a start, sit, cut question.
And I have not heard this question yet, so I'm very excited to see where this goes.
So start, sit, cut. Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson.
Oh, fuck. Start Josh Allen. I can't fucking cut one of these guys.
I'm cutting Lamar Jackson.
That's what I was going to say too, but I don't want to sound like a homer because he's a Raven. I don't like that style of quarterback.
Me either.
I want a guy who stands in the pocket, wins from the pocket, wins in rhythm. You've heard me talk so many times about guys who win from the pocket and play within rhythm. That's why I'm burying Zach Wilson. And Lamar he doesn't play within rhythm unless he's throwing down the middle of the field to a tight end.
So that's the thing for me is that I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to progress as a passer. I know a lot of people do. I don't think he is going to develop. He just had Rashad Bateman go down with a groin injury. He's going to be out for weeks. That's going to hurt him some.
He's getting surgery.
Yeah. It's Josh Allen, I think, is a no-brainer as your starter. Though I like Josh Allen and his play, but I wasn't as high on him before. I think him and Herbert are closer for me personally as to who I would start, and I think it is also based on your offensive system, which one I would prefer. But for me, the cut is easy as Lamar Jackson because he is a average at best passer. He's dynamic as far as a playmaker, but how long is that going to last you? Yeah. Michael Vick, I think had better arm talent than Lamar Jackson.
Way better arm talent.
And he didn't last forever in Atlanta. Obviously, his time kind of got cut short there because he was a piece of shit for a little bit. But, I don't see the longevity there. If I'm able to have Herbert on the bench, if Josh Allen, with his physical play goes down, even though he's got that husky body, if he goes down, I feel phenomenal about Herbert going in based off his offensive rookie of the year season last year. And we'll see. I don't think he's going to have a slump.
He set every rookie passing record ever. Like, that's insane. And on a team that has a terrible offensive line, that is hard to do. When your offensive line sucks, playing quarterback's tough. Mm-hmm. And he broke every fucking rookie record. I love Justin Herbert.
Without playing the full season as the starter. Tyrod started off as the starter there.
Well, Tyrod got another raw deal out there. Fucking guy punctures his goddamn lung. Yep. That doctor should have been fired if he wasn't.
No idea if he was or not, but yeah, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, and Tyrod I liked Tyrod when Cleveland signed Tyrod. I was very excited. I thought Tyrod did a great job up in Buffalo. He just the injuries, right? And this last one's not even his fault, and he loses his chance to start. Now he's down in Houston, and he might be the starter based on the depth chart that came out with Deshaun Watson at 4.
Yeah. I mean, they have to put him on there somewhere. They're not going to put him at 1, so that makes sense. But
is that a posture to try to trade him, putting him at 4 on your depth chart? Or do you think Deshaun ultimately starts?
No, he won't start for them. No, I think he'll be put on, especially with the investigations that they've had going on with Deshaun Watson. Like the league has actually been doing their investigations now. Their usual MO is to wait until the legal side is done, and then the league will come out with their findings and put down ramifications towards the player, suspensions and whatnot. In this situation, while the legal battle is still going to be ongoing for a while, I think that they will put him on the commissioner's exempt list, which is that limbo state where the league can just come down and say, you're on the commissioner exempt list. It's not like a team choice thing while this all gets sorted out. But based on whatever the league investigators' findings are and what they're kind of seeing right now, I would believe that they're probably going to think that he's going to have some negative recourse through the legal system. It's not a good look. They'll put him on that commissioner's exempt list, and he will be unavailable for at least part of the year.
And the NFL doesn't look good right now with the way their line of questioning is going when they're talking to these women either. There were some reports that came out about that, how they are...
They were asking what the masseuse was wearing and stuff, which can have insinuations towards were you dressed scantily clad or slutty or something like that. I don't want to say were you asking for it because that's what the victims were alluding to why they were upset with the line of questioning is that, it was victim shaming and stuff like that. But the two investigators from the league, both women, they're prior prosecutors, I believe. They are probably going about this process from a very benign legal standpoint where they're just collecting information. At least that would be my take from it. I understand from the victim's perspective that it could seem like, those are targeted questions, but I don't think the NFL is out to protect Deshaun Watson. I think they're out to get every possible piece of information so that way they can go back to the commissioner and say, hey, this is our findings, this is what we think is going on, and how this is going to play out.
I'll be interested to see what happens when the reports come out about what they found. I hope that they are not doing the victim shaming thing because it doesn't matter what the fuck she's wearing. Like that. No, if he did what is alleged,
putting his ding dong in their hands.
Yeah,
and,
fucking.
And skeeting.
He needs to be the fuck out of the league. He needs to be thrown in jail. It's fucking wrong. So hopefully they're doing a thorough investigation that is not leaning towards protecting the NFL. They're doing a true investigation to figure out what happened.
As much as I have distrust of the NFL, I think that's what they're doing, is that they're just trying to do a very thorough investigation, which is not an easy subject to go over with what they're having to investigate. And so some of those questions are going to be messy.
Yeah, it's a terrible situation. He's number 4 on the depth chart. Is it posturing to try to get a team to trade for him? I don't think anybody is going to trade for him because they have to see the way this plays out.
Yeah, before the legal battle is done, I don't know why a team would trade for him, because at that point you are completely gambling. It's like taking a player who has a horrific injury, one of those types of injuries that you never know if they're going to come back from, and being like, yeah, he was elite talent before, we're going to trade for him now. Maybe it works out. Teams just don't gamble like that. No. If they bring in someone off of free agency who has that sort of an injury concern, they never give them that money. They'll give them the one-year deal, vet minimums, or they'll give them something, but it'll be heavily predicated in the contract on playing time and things like that.
And I can only see one team with enough ammo and enough stupidity to even think about making that trade. And that's Howie Roseman. But even I'm not sure Howie Roseman's that dumb.
Yeah, I don't think it'll actually happen.
Yeah.
Until the legal battle is done, I think the Deshaun Watson stuff will probably be tabled.
Yeah. All right. That's it for the NFL, right?
Yep. Going on to a little Major League Baseball. They had the Field of Dreams game the other night.
Is this heaven?
It might be.
Oh, man. So
Kevin Costner says it is.
Kevin Costner is a fucking stud. I love Kevin Costner. Everything he does, I'm watching. I love Yellowstone.
Oh, one of my favorite TV shows all time.
Oh, my God. It's so
Taylor
fucking
Sheridan
good.
does great work. And, yeah, such a good show. Look,
Put Kevin Costner in any baseball situation also, and I'm going to watch that shit as well. Bull Durham, my favorite baseball movie of all time. It's so fucking good. And then give me, for love of the game, if you are a baseball guy and you don't love For Love of the Game, you're not a fucking baseball guy. Get out of here. That is what baseball is all about. I love Kevin Costner. And last night's game lived up to the billing. This is 2 years in the making. They couldn't do it because of COVID. They finally get the game. And god damn, what a way to celebrate that movie, to put this whole thing together. The only thing that wasn't good about this game is Guy Fieri and his dumbass hot dog apple pie.
I didn't even know Guy Fieri had anything to do with the game. Because to be completely honest, I didn't watch it. I've only looked at some of the reports or highlights and things from the game. Obviously, the ending of the game, which was, I don't know, pretty fitting. It was pretty epic. I believe you said the Yankees had hit a couple home runs to take the lead.
Top of the ninth, they fucking hit Giancarlo and Aaron Judge, the two big sluggers for the Yankees, go out there, hit a couple bombs to take the lead. This is storybook. If you're a Yankees fan, this is how it's supposed to be. They're in this game for a reason, because they're the Yankees. You fucking love them or you hate them, but they deserve to be there. And then you get a guy in Tim Anderson, a young, exciting guy, goes out and hits the walk-off Oppo home run to right field into the corn. celebration, fireworks fucking going off. It was a fantastic game. Jose Abreu starts the game off early. First home run ever out into the corn. I mean, that's something that he's going to probably remember for forever. And the build up to the game was great. The introduction, like those guys coming
Walking
out of
out
the
from
corn.
outfield.
Oh,
Yep.
I was so pumped. I was so excited. Like it was.
And the classic uniforms and things like that for the Sox, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely one of those feel good sports moments.
This is what baseball needs. Everybody who's listened to the podcast from the beginning has heard me talk very passionately about baseball. They have heard me bury Major League Baseball for their terrible promotion of the game. This was one time where they absolutely got it right. It's great to see. This builds the game. It's exciting.
It was a very romanticized moment for the sport,
Absolutely.
and it's something that you can watch with your kids. Then you can watch the movie, and it really gets them emotionally involved
Absolutely.
in this sport. And I think it's great for the game. You can't do it every week.
No.
So
But they need to do this more.
They need to do this sort of thing more often.
Other sports need to start leaning into this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've seen the NHL do their outdoor series.
Yeah, the Winter Classic, they do the outdoor game once a year, I believe, on like Christmas Day or something like that. I had seen someone say, hey, they should do the game up outdoors in Miracle, Alaska on a pond or whatever, from that movie. Yeah, it's nice to see some of these things that are sports related, pop culture stuff that are able to get injected into the sport. It's kind of just feel good moment for all the fans,
especially if you want to resonate with a younger crowd. You have to tie it into pop culture. I don't know why other organizations aren't doing this yet. Now, I don't know what the NBA can do. Maybe they go to Rucker Park and they do a game out at Rucker Park, and that would be fucking crazy. That would be awesome. Even if it's not a regular season game, maybe do a summer league game that they have going on right now out at Rucker Park, and at the mecca of basketball in New York. That would be super cool. I don't know what the NFL does. There's not a lot of football movies that you could recreate or put that in.
Yeah, not so much. I think their brand stuff right now is kind of go to Mexico and play a game, go to Europe and play a game.
Trying to
those
globalize
international
the game.
games, yeah, things like that, pulling in more of a global fan base. But I think that there's ways for them to get creative and make games more special and more important.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen some interesting things in college football. They have the Pinstripe Bowl where they play at Yankee Stadium. That's a cool little atmosphere. It's different. Maybe the NFL can get into that as well. The game in Mexico, I hate the game in Mexico. The field is almost always fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing at a higher elevation than they are in Denver. Players hate going down there. Players hate going over to fucking England because the travel is terrible.
Real tough. They they have to work it around bye weeks and stuff like that. That travel is really tough on the body. Having done that trip back and forth from Europe, I never want to ride on that plane ride again. I've done it so many damn times and it sucks.
I've done it commercially coming back from a deployment, and I've done it on a fucking C-17, which actually was better because I just slept on the hood of a Humvee.
Mm.
I was able to stretch out and get a little space. That is the longest fucking flight. It's miserable. Now, these NFL players going over, obviously they are trying to rest as much as they can. Coming back, if they get a win, maybe they're partying on the plane back. That's a good long trip to let loose. Hopefully you're rolling into a bye week right after. But I would like to see the NFL find a way to do something other than the international stuff, because those international games are tough. I fucking hate waking up at the ass crack of dawn to watch the goddamn Dolphins versus the Texans in England, but I will turn it on if I am awake because it's the NFL and I'm a fucking American and I watch football. So
maybe they should just have a lockout and they'll bring in Shane Falco, Keanu Reeves.
There we go.
and he can, lead a bunch of players, a deaf tight end, and have all sorts of fun antics. That would be a good game.
I'm thinking about all the football movies, and you definitely don't want to recreate a, how did I just forget the name of the movie? Steamin' Willie Beeman.
Oh, yeah, and Pacino.
What the hell is the name of that movie?
It's going to escape me now, too, that I'm on the spot.
Oh, man. Well, high school football movies you can't do, especially Varsity Blues.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to go over very well. That movie couldn't be made today.
Any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday. You can't recreate Any Given Sunday because there's some shit in that movie that just
Probably
NFL
a little
does
too
not want-
realistic to the NFL that they don't want people to be thinking about. Good movie, though.
I mean, but are there really any other? You can't do a Remember Titans. It's another high school team. I mean, it's a great story. Fantastic. Love that fucking movie. Gary Bertier was a beast on the field, and then even afterwards going and winning Paralympic medals.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't recreate that. You're not doing Friday Night Lights. I mean, they have a TV show, the fucking One Tree Hill knockoff.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything like that the NFL can do, but I'd like to see them do something.
I mean, the closest thing that they do is the game in Canton for the Hall of Fame game, but that's at the beginning of the year, and it's trash. Everyone knows that it's
Everybody
just,
fucking hates the Hall of Fame game.
It's a pointless game. But finding sites and locations that are non-traditional but do have tradition within the sport somehow would be nice. I don't know. It's something to think about. Something to think about. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that they could do as far as a site or a location that would really be that wild or different. But
MLB did it right. The NHL does it right with their Winter Classic. Maybe the NBA can find something that they can do. I don't know if the NFL will ever get there, but I love the way that it worked out. It was a great game. One first place team in the White Sox, a Yankees team that is supposed to be very good and contending for a playoff spot. It was fantastic baseball. If you love baseball, definitely should have tuned in and caught that Field of Dreams game. It was awesome. And also, I mean, I'm a huge video game guy as well. MLB The Show did this whole thing.
Added it all into the game.
Oh, yeah. It's
I heard
awesome.
about that.
MLB The Show is my favorite video game probably of all time. It has surpassed Madden because Madden has fucking sucked for years. But
It's been rough.
yeah, it was fantastic. So
Yep. All right, man. You
That
ready to wrap this up for the week?
I think so, man. I know you got to get out of here. You guys got to practice tonight. We do not. I am gonna.
Yeah, we'll see if the weather holds out. It was looking pretty dark and monsoony out here before I rolled in earlier, and we've had nothing but rainouts the past couple practices.
Yeah,
so.
it's been tough, especially with the scrimmages coming up. You guys don't have a scrimmage, right?
Nope. I think we're looking 2 weeks away from game or scrimmage, anything like that. So,
All right.
which we need.
Yeah,
Bad.
we are definitely excited for tomorrow. Getting the kids out there, getting a feel, starting to work out some of those kinks, especially with the new rule changes. But football season is back. Football season is back for me. We got some preseason games. Being back out on the field, coaching. I mean, it's great. Even though I had some parents that were a little unhappy with maybe some of the language I used.
It happens.
Understandable. I get it. I was yelling at my son, but I got to watch my mouth. But I'm a passionate guy. Like, people can see it. I'm demonstrative. I speak with my hands. I'm fucking loud.
You're utilizing the English language and its adjectives and things like that to its fullest. Some of them are less pretty words, but they've got meaning behind them.
And they can definitely be effective. But
Like 100% or fuck.
fuck.
Both have a lot of strong meaning behind it.
Yeah, or when you tell somebody to pull their head out of their ass.
That too.
Oh, sorry, Graydon. I love you. I'll try to stop yelling at you so much. But, I mean,
It's good for the boy.
it is. Man, I'm super excited. Excited for this weekend. I felt really good about today's show. I mean, we covered a ton of stuff. I felt like we were pretty in-depth with a lot of these things, able to bounce off of different stuff. We're starting to catch a little bit of a stride.
Yeah, it's starting to work out. Tell us how you think we're doing, though. Hit us up on the Lyman Lounge Gmail. and show us a little bit of love and support. Follow us on Spotify, wherever you can find the podcast. On YouTube, just you can subscribe, gently caress that like button, and then just give it a little tap. That'd be great.
A little tap.
Yep. And yeah, hit us up. Let us know how we're doing. Anything else that you want us to talk about on the linemanlounge@gmail.com. And yeah, we're gonna go have some football this weekend. Watch some football preseason games this weekend. Play a little bit of golf, and then we'll get back to y'all on Tuesday with anything new in the world of sports that comes out.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I could not have said it any better myself. So thank you guys very much. I'm Mike. This is Evo. Coming to you guys from Hangar 6. Thank you all so much for your support. As always, sleeves for both this time are optional.